In this video, we're going to discuss how to find horizontal asymptotes for a rational function. So again, when we talk about a rational function, it looks like a fraction, and the numerator and denominator are polynomials, so we're not going to see any radicals or anything like that. And so to determine if there's a horizontal asymptote, we're going to look at the degree of the polynomial in the numerator and the degree of the polynomial in the denominator. And that will tell us if there's a horizontal asymptote, and if so, where it is. You can have more than one vertical asymptote, you can have more than one whole, but you can only have at most one horizontal asymptote. So if the degree of the numerator is smaller than the degree of the denominator, we will have a horizontal asymptote, and it's going to be the line y equals 0. If the degrees of the numerator and the denominator are equal, there is a horizontal asymptote, and we're going to find it by dividing the leading coefficients, which we will illustrate. And then if the degree of the numerator is larger, then there isn't a horizontal asymptote. So let's look at a few examples here. So the degree, remember, is the exponent on the highest powered term. So for example here, if we look at this denominator of x minus 2, the highest exponent that we see on the variable is 1, because we have x to the first. So that denominator has a degree of 1. Now, we don't see a variable in the numerator. Basically, there we have 3x to the 0, because x to the 0 is 1. So we have degree 0 when we have a constant. So the degree of the numerator is smaller, which means that the horizontal asymptote is the line y equals 0. Alright, for the second one here, the degrees of the numerator and the denominator are both 1. And so if that's the case, what we do is we divide the leading coefficients. Remember, the leading coefficient isn't necessarily on the first term. So for example, we could have written the numerator as 3 plus 2x, and we would still say that 2 is the leading coefficient because it's on the highest powered term. So the leading coefficient in the numerator is 2, and the leading coefficient in the denominator is 1. And so what we do is we divide those. So we do 2 divided by 1, and the horizontal asymptote is the line y equals that number. So the horizontal asymptote for this one would be the line y equals 2. Alright, here again we have matching equal degrees, and so we would divide the leading coefficients here. So here the horizontal asymptote is the line y equals 4/3. And then in the last one here, we have a numerator with degree 2 and a denominator with degree 1. So in that case, since the degree of the numerator is larger, we don't have a horizontal asymptote for this function.